Headsets. Headsets. And give me my mic. Is it on? Did you point at me? Make sure I'm in program. Make sure the mic's in program.
I'll play your bed after this.
Yes. All right. You got my headsets up? 85. All right, welcome to the show, Black Focus Radio. Check your levels. Okay. All right, and kill the volume a little bit in my headsets. Okay, that's good. All right, welcome to the show, Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions. Trying to get this chair right now. Our voices, 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with them. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today as well. By the way, Jemiah Ivy is on the Wheels of Steel today. I let both she and Clayton alternate during the shows. Pretty soon they're going to, you never know. They might have their own talk show. Have y'all thought about that? So the potential is there, I'm telling you now. A lot of stuff to talk about today. Don't know where to start, man. America's just gone batty. So we'll get into that as well. Certainly we're going to do the Black Facts today here in just a moment. I love doing Black Facts, and part of the reason that we do Black Facts is to educate our people on some of the things that were not taught to them. And although sometimes the new information, when it's being presented, meets with resistance from some of our own people, that doesn't mean that we still should not talk facts. Okay? So always remember that. 855-525-5683 is the number. We've got a caller on the line already. Typically, caller, we don't really have callers this early, but I'll go to you. Hello, caller. And the phone, you know how to put on the phone? The pot next to the automation. All right? Make sure it's in program and audition. You also need to make sure that my mic is in audition as well. That's the only way he'll be able to hear me. And then turn up the phone pot. Caller, you there? No. Turn that one off. All right. Caller, you there? Hey, Robert. Hi, this is Robert Webb. I mean, he's calling in from a secret location. Witness protection. You're in a Trump bunker. Well, well, you'll get some of that good Trump wine and cheese. I'm just saying, man, because there's a whole lot of whining and a whole lot of cheese, and I'm just saying. So I'll tell you what we're going to do, and boy, I tell you what, I don't know where to start. There's just so much rich information out there. But let me talk about the teas, and then what we'll do is Black Facts, because that's essential. By the way, Robert, are you on the way to the studio, or you're just out tooling around? Oh, cool. Fantastic. So that sounds like a winner. So there's some interesting information that I want to get you involved in and talk about as well today. Well, of course, we do that every day. So that ought to be cool as well. So let's see. What was I going to do? Oh, we need to do Black Facts. I was going to do the teas as well. So let me do that first. to kind of set up the show. These are some of the things that we'll talk about today. Let's see. The response from the Arkansas-Washington delegation is simply, I said it was pathetically simple-minded, and I was being kind. And yesterday on the show we asked the question, what are the thoughts of the Arkansas delegation, who are all Republicans, about Trump's racist and xenophobic comments? And I knew the response was going to be just what it was. So we'll talk about that. And also, who said Trump is a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot? Think about that. And also, who said Democrats don't need more black faces that don't want to be a black voice? Who said that? And one other thing, is there a difference between what happened to Mohamed, Noor, and Eric Garner as it relates to the end results? You all know who Mohamed Noor is, right? He was the Minnesota police officer who shot and killed a white woman. Is there any difference? I'm just going to ask the question, and we're going to start with that concept when we get back. So before that, let's go ahead and do Black Facts. Well. Man, there's so much information out there, and the exciting thing about Black Facts is that you can go out and research it for yourself. You don't have to sit here and believe me. But today, this is from a website called theconversation.com, and this Black Fact is about reparations. And it's entitled, Why Reparations to African Americans Are Necessary and How to Start. In a 2016 poll, 58% of African Americans said they believe that the United States should pay financial reparations to African Americans who are descendants of slaves. Only 15% of whites agreed. I'm a white woman and I support reparations to African Americans. I have published academic articles on the issue, including official apologies. I am the author of Reparations to Africa and the co-author of The Age of Apology. In 2005, the United Nations issued a short document which outlined the basic guidelines on the right to remedy and reparations for victims of gross violations of human rights laws. Financial compensation is one of the aspects of reparations mentioned in this document, but is not the only one. Apology is important. Boy, where have we heard that before? So is commemoration and tributes to victims and an accurate account of the violations. 5 years ago, author and journalist Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote a harrowing account of injustices of African Americans in the article for The Atlantic. These injustices occurred during periods of enslavement, but also the Jim Crow era, the Civil Rights era, and down to the present. In his article, Coates called upon all Americans to acknowledge their shameful history, including injustices of enslavement, terrorism, plunder, and piracy committed against African Americans. He wants all the facts to be accurately reported. Accurate acknowledgement would be a first step in reparations. Apology is a second step. So many governments, institutions, and private businesses in the United States are implicated in slavery and the post-1865 injustices that it would be impossible for them to apologize at once. But a good start would be an apology for slavery from the President of the United States, joined by governors of every state that ever permitted enslavement. The text of the apology would have to be carefully negotiated with African American community leaders. The apology would also have to be carefully surrounded with ritual so that its sincerity and seriousness would be apparent. This could be followed by literally thousands of apologies by low-level municipal governments, religious institutions, and businesses. Every single institution would have to investigate its history and acknowledge and apologize for every single act of enslavement and discrimination against African Americans. The next step would be to memorialize all of these injustices. It is not enough to tear down monuments to leaders of the Confederate Army. Memorials should be put up at public expense to African Americans who fought against enslavement and later injustices. John Carter, by the way, that comes to mind here. The Elaine 247 farmers comes to mind all of a sudden. Memorials should also be erected at sites of plantations, sites of protest, and sites of known murders of African Americans, from those who were lynched in decades past to those unjustly killed by police. These memorials are a way to assert that black lives do matter. Finally, there's a question of financial reparations and whether descendants of enslaved people should receive them. How, if at all, can all of the descendants of enslaved African Americans be identified? Even if they can be identified, should they receive individual financial reparations? Perhaps yes, to compensate for the huge gap in mostly inherited wealth between black and white Americans. Perhaps African Americans should be given a financial boost to help them on the road to moderate middle class security. But many white and other Americans might view this as unfair to other people who don't enjoy such prosperity. Alternately, perhaps the federal and state governments should pay group reparations to African Americans. Whites might be more willing to accept collective reparations of this kind. One possibility is to invest in education, Robert, from shoring up predominantly African American elementary schools to special university scholarships. One might argue that affirmative action programs have already accomplished this, but they have been weakened over the decades and, in any case, only apply at the university level. Other options in housing investment in predominantly African American residential neighborhoods, especially where public housing projects are located. For decades, African Americans have been subjected to low quality public housing and mortgage discrimination. Yet another option is investment in African Americans' health care, although one could argue that the whole country deserves this kind of investment. Nevertheless, if African Americans suffer from some health problems at higher rates than white Americans, then reparations could include enhanced health care. Many white and other Americans may oppose reparations to African Americans on the grounds that neither they nor their ancestors had anything to do with the many ways African Americans were and are oppressed. But as citizens, whether of the U.S. or, in my case, Canada, we have a responsibility to make amends to fellow citizens who have been harmed by past and present policies of our governments. Acknowledgement is a first step forward. Apologies, memorials, and financial reparations continue the process. Reparations are a way of making the country whole by partially remedying the inherited inequities that still plague African Americans. They are a way of saying that African Americans are, at long last, equal citizens of the United States of America and therefore deserving of its privileges and protections. And that's our Black Fact for today. And if you would like to sponsor Dynamic Black Facts, you know how to call me up at 615-554-0568, and I'll set up an advertising package for you. Robert, what do you think about that Black Fact? And that was written by a white woman. Exactly. Yeah. I noticed that when. That's why I called your name, because she covers all of it. Because, see, what that piece does, and that's why I read it, what that piece does, it covers all of the injustices that were committed, not just by the government, but also private business owners as well. Okay? And it remedies business. It talks about education, which I know you're big on. all of those things. So I thought that was an excellent piece, and I'm going to continue to read it because, you know, what I've been saying all along is that America has never even apologized for slavery. I mean, if you tell me to forget about it, well, wait a minute, before I can forget about it, I need to hear an apology. Hey, man, I'm sorry I slapped you upside the head and put a cuckabug upside your head. Then maybe you can forget about it. But before I can forget about it, you know, you got to apologize, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, well, that's unfortunate, but again, how do you teach your children if you can't? I mean, don't get me on morals, but the bottom line is that if we're going to solve this problem, then you have to apologize. That's where it begins. Turn the monitor up a little bit.
So if we keep pretending it doesn't exist, and people who talk about it,
Not too much.
then guess what? At some point, it will no longer exist. That's the whole point about making us feel uncomfortable about talking about things that are important to us. That's why you have people on Facebook who jump down your throat about, why are you saying that? You're un-American. Because those things are supposed to offend you or make you uncomfortable. Therefore, if you're uncomfortable, you won't speak on it.
Well, I think it was, who was the leader who said what you have to do is agitate. And if you're uncomfortable, then that means you need to address, or at least hear what I'm saying. And America hasn't heard what black people have been saying, okay? And that's part of the problem. They don't want to hear.
I don't think it's that America hadn't heard it. It's just, it comes to the point of how do you address it, right? So how do you address what you hear? And sometimes to address it means it has to be addressed with some kind of financial component. That's not going to happen. Because again, like you said, black folks had a non-violent movement. So you have shown that you are non-violent. So America respects violence. I mean, honestly, people say, well, Robert, it's like you're saying you condone violence. I'm not saying I condone violence. I have the same, I take the same approach to violence that Americans take to it. If you talk for so long and it don't work, then next thing we got to do is fight, right? That's what America does. We get you sanctions, they don't follow the sanctions, then we fight. Unlike America. If you get sanctions, they don't take the sanctions, you got to fight. I mean, look at the Indians. Look at the Indians. The Indians fought. The Indians fought. They fought for their land. They fought for everything. And the Indians got casinos. Now, I know people can say, well, not all Indians got casinos, but Indian reservations themselves got casinos. I mean, if you look at poverty numbers, the poverty numbers for Indians are far more than the poverty numbers for black folks. I mean, just take a look at it. I mean, everybody who fought America, they received something in return. We never received anything because we never fought. We wanted to be peaceful. Peaceful gets you the F word. I'm done.
Wow, Robert. But I totally agree with you. You know I do. And when you look at history, you make an excellent point about who ended up with. Now, certainly even though the Japanese Americans were in turn who were, of Japanese descent, it was their home country that fought America, so they ended up getting paid too. So that's what you just said is really so profound, and I don't think a lot of people look at it from that point of view. And that's why I tell people that until black people quit marching down the street with signs and singing "We Shall Overcome" and get angry about their people being killed in the street, and that's what I'm gonna segue into about this thing with Eric Garner and Mohammed Noor. Until we get upset about that, then this is going to continue. I talked about Amber Geiger yesterday. She was the alleged murderer who went into Botham Jean's apartment and killed this man in his apartment. And her attorneys are seeking to move the trial to and they're openly talking about it, a whiter district for her trial, because they're hoping that white people will not convict a person who breaks into another person's house and shoots and kills them just because she's white. And that's what that's really boiling down to.
Can you say Rodney King, Sydney Valley?
Exactly. You know, the list goes on and on. And the reason I'm bringing up the Amber Geiger thing, because of everything, of all the cases that we've seen over the years, and all of them are egregious and beyond the pale. Don't get me wrong. But this thing with Botham Jean, I mean, you know what it reminded me of to some extent was Emmett Till. Now, and it wasn't the exact same crime, but the fact that they broke into, remember I don't know if you were here that day that we interviewed Emmett Till's cousin, and he was in the room with Emmett Till when they came and took him out the house. You remember that day we interviewed him?
Yeah.
And they were in their home, and white people found it bold enough to break into someone's home and attack and kidnap and murder. What's the difference in that and what she did with Botham Jean? She broke into his home and she murdered him in his home. This man, and here's the difference, this man wasn't doing anything except minding his own damn business.
Yeah, but again, when we had this conversation, we have to talk about the imagery that we're constantly shown to them, right? So whenever we think of criminality, we think black folks, because that's what they constantly show us, the imagery of it. You watch it, when you watch something on TV, imagery is everything. I mean, we're having these subliminal messages placed in our head that black folks are criminals. So yeah, if you get a bunch of white people on a jury, of course they're going to set up police free to kill the black man, because in their mind, they have been programmed that even though they may not say it, even though it may not come out, unfortunately, even for black folks, we've been programmed to think that when you see a black man, instantly he is a criminal, or he has some criminal intent. That's what's constantly being stated. I mean, what's constantly being stated? How can you expect people to be supportive of black victims?
Anytime you want to talk to me, kill my mic. Okay.
Everything about black folks is shown on TV.
Is it okay? So what you need to do?
In some way,
you hear the distortion.
How can you expect to get a positive outcome when that's the case? I mean, this is the same thing.
I was wondering you were going to ask. Okay. It only happens when the phone comes on. Okay. We'll take a break in about 5 minutes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the same thing we're doing in America. That's the same thing they've done in America. But again, we can't support shows that don't show blacks in a positive light. We can't do it anymore. And we still do it. We still support those shows that don't show blacks in a positive light.
Well, what I think is going to be interesting with this Amber Geiger case, I think this is a seminal moment in time for black people. And what I mean by that, and it's hearkening back on what you said earlier, that if this woman does not serve significant prison time wherever her trial takes place, if black people don't get it, then Robert, I'm going to argue that we're never going to get it. Okay? Because here's the point. What do we always hear when a black person is killed? Oh, well, he shouldn't have been doing that. He should have obeyed. He should have complied. All of that stuff that we've heard black people even use as excuses for the injustice, and white people try to use as excuses for that injustice. How will they justify Botham Jean in his home, sleep in his drawers, and a police officer busts in and shoots and kills him? How will you justify that? I think it will be a seminal moment for the black community. We will see where the leadership is in this country at that point, because it shouldn't be no protesting. I don't know if you listened to the show yesterday, but you know, I've talked about it often. I've told them how to fix this problem. Don't send your children to the white universities. Don't line them up to play football and basketball for them. This will change overnight. This is a seminal moment. And the reason I'm talking about this is because when you look at this case with Mohamed Noor and Eric Garner, I asked the question, what was the difference? We're going to talk about that here in a moment. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Robert Webb is on the line with me. We're going to ask the question, and I need you to be honest about this. Mohamed Noor was a black police officer. He was legal. Okay? He was doing his job. He was in fear of his life. He's spending the rest of his life in prison. Well, at least 12 and a half years. Eric Garner was minding his business, trying to make a living for his family, selling Lucy's. He's dead today, and the cop who killed him, he's walking free. What's the difference in the two? And it's more than just black and white. We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to Black Focus Radio. I'm Dynamic Dave, along with Robert Webb on JoinNetRadio.com. Get on my mic. Kill the phone. Go ahead and play the stop sign. And fade the music. Or you could pause that bed and it'll pick it up from where it is. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So, soon as I stop talking, go ahead and kill them mics. Okay? What you weren't paying attention to when I was doing Reverend Fairchild's show, he was messing all with the mic and stuff like that. That stuff goes out on the air. You don't want to hear that. So when the person on mic isn't talking, as soon as you can kill those mics, kill them like that. Okay? In fact, that should be the first thing you do. You play the bed. As soon as I stop talking, kill that mic. Okay?
That's 803-847-6227. And enjoy Minister Lee Burgess and Resurrections.
And I'm doing something a little different. So I'm teasing people. So you hear me, what I did was I'm teasing the conversation about Mohamed Noor and Eric Garner for the next segment. So people will stay tuned. All right. I'm also teasing the questions that I asked, who said that? So people will stay tuned later on. So when I come back, I'm going to tease those two questions, say, coming up here in a little bit. So people, that keeps your story, your show fresh. So people say, oh, well, what is he talking about today? Okay. Clayton, I can't see you. You paying attention back there? Oh, I was going to read that quote for you. Let me pull that up for you real fast.
I'm attorney Theodore Thompson from the Thompson Law Firm, and I want to help you legal matter, whether it's criminal defense, bankruptcy, personal injury, or family law.
How y'all doing? Appreciate y'all joining the show today. I hope you're enjoying it. We've got Miss Jemiah Ivy on the Wheels of Steel. By the way, we are still looking for a sewing machine for her. She wants to be a fashion designer. She's sitting in it. She draws her stuff. She needs to be able to put it now in practical application. She needs a sewing machine. Can y'all help her out? Do you know some friends who have gotten old and no longer sews who wants to get rid of a sewing machine? Okay? Let's help her out. We've got about 2 more weeks before they leave. I'd like to have it before they left. Okay? Huh? Oh, okay. Okay, well, let me know. So next week, yeah, let me know, because I need. I'm planning to take y'all to lunch on Monday. Okay. The last week y'all are leaving. All right. Phone and mic. All right, welcome back to the show. Coming up a little later on, I asked a couple of questions. Do y'all know who said this? It will be pretty stunning when I reveal to you. And one of the people who said something, I'm pretty glad they said it. So who said this? Trump is a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. Robert, do you know who said that? Are you there, Robert? You got his mic on the phone? Yeah, you should be there. Robert, are you there? Okay. Do you know who said Trump is a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot?
Yeah, but I can't remember the name.
Okay. Also, who said this? Democrats don't need more black faces that don't want to be a black voice. Ooh.
I heard that one.
And I'm going to tell you, that shot's fired, bro. Okay? So we'll talk about that here coming up in a little bit. But let's stick with this Mohamed Noor thing. You all know the story of Mohamed Noor. He was a black police officer in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And he and a partner got a call that there was a prowler in the area. He and his partner was driving down a dark alley, outruns someone that they didn't recognize. Mohamed Noor apparently panicked, let's be real, shot and killed her because he was scared. He said that he was in fear of his life when he went to trial, but for some reason Mohamed Noor was convicted and sentenced to 12 and a half years in prison. Now, when this case occurred, I said at that point that he will be convicted. There was a reason why he was convicted. His name was Mohammed. He was Muslim, and he was black. But he was a police officer. How could that be possible? Shouldn't he be afforded the same rights and privileges as, let's say, Daniel Pantaleo? You all know Daniel Pantaleo, don't you? Well, Daniel Pantaleo is the person that we saw with our own eyes on video where he choked a man to death. The man was laying on the ground screaming, he wasn't screaming because he could barely catch his breath. He was saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Yet, no one even cared. Daniel Pantaleo was not convicted. And as of yesterday, the Justice Department has decided that they will not even entertain civil rights violations by this person who used, by the way, an illegal chokehold. So how are these cases alike? You would say, well, there were two policemen involved. Yeah, that's the simplistic viewpoint. But I argue today that what is happening in the black community is tantamount to what the KKK did during the Jim Crow and Black Code eras. Now, you might say I'm being overly hyperbolic. Think about it. How many times did black people get hung, lynched, murdered? You've heard me read the stories over and over again in Black Facts, and not one person stood trial. You say, oh, well, that was then. So now what we're having is police are doing the same thing that they were doing in the 50s and 60s. And oh, by the way, they are standing trial, but they're stacking the juries with white people, just like they're trying to do in the Botham Jean case. And these men are being acquitted. In some cases, they're not even standing trial. Isn't that right, Larry Jagley? They're not even standing trial. So you tell me, what's the difference? The commonality is that this is nothing more than modern day lynchings, folks. That's what this is. This is modern day lynchings where, okay, as Robert was saying, black people's lives have no value. So it's okay to kill them any way we can. And then let's put on a trumped up trial to make it seem as though that everything is legit. Oh, he was found innocent. So that's okay that he choked a man to death. And all of our eyes who saw that know that what happened was wrong. What about Betty Shelby in Oklahoma, who shot a man to death And she claimed that he was trying to reach in his car and get a gun when he was walking away from her. By the way, she shot him in the back. And then when the video comes out and shows that there was no way he could have reached into that car because the window was up now, unless he was Puff the Magic Dragon, we knew she was alive. But you know what they did for Betty Shelby? They sent her to be able to train other officers about how to survive when they shoot a suspect. This is nothing more but modern day lynchings. And until we really begin to address it as such, this is going to continue. Robert, your thoughts?
I love it, Robert. Your thoughts? No, I think you make some good points. I mean, you know, you talk to police officers and they will tell you that no jury is going to convict a police officer for doing his job, right? And so, in the line of duty, if they shoot a suspect, whether it's, whether they're unarmed or not, and they simply say they fear for their lives, then that being the case, usually juries don't convict. I mean, we've seen the hair on the right. Juries don't convict when they say they are they fear for their lives. Now, what's interesting is that we've had two cases, the one in Louisiana and now the one in Minnesota, where the two black officers who shot white people were convicted, where you don't have that in all the cases. I know you had the case in South Carolina where the guy was, I can't remember, was it Walter Scott?
Yep.
Was it Walter Scott where the guy was convicted? So you have some cases where there are convictions, but those cases are so egregious that they have no other choice almost but to convict, right? But like I said, again, you said it yourself, it goes back to value, and that's an issue that falls back on us. I mean, there's so many layers to this. I mean, when you start talking about jury selection, well, are black folks, are we actually fulfilling these subpoenas when we get them to go to court and to go serve on jury duty? Those things are important, and we have to be diligent about going to jury duty. We have to make that one of our responsibilities. I mean, y'all talk about voting. To me, that's more important than voting. Because again, these cases, these folks are not found innocent unless you have people on the jury who understand how this process works. Because again, I think white people see police as this entity that works for them to protect them from us, some of them, right? So if they see it that way, then yeah, you can expect a conviction for a white man, for a white police officer, a black man or a black woman. You should expect a conviction. Because if the mentality is, and people say, well, that's just not true. Well, look at it whenever time a police officer shoots a black man, you have people saying, well, he was doing his job. Well, if he was doing his job, then they see him killing an unarmed black man as doing his job.
But wait a minute, Robert. Mohamed Noor was doing his job.
But again, the circumstances don't always fit, don't always work for everybody. Like I said, that works for some officers. I'm pretty sure that he had a jury of his peers, right? He had a jury of his peers.
Who? Mohamed Noor?
Of course he did. He had a jury of his peers.
Who was the peer for a immigrant black Somalian police officer who was a Muslim? Who was his peer?
In America, everybody.
Really? You believe that, huh? Really?
That's what they say, Dave. I can only go about what information is provided to me, Dave. I can't make up facts like Trump. I can only go by what's provided to me. And what's provided is that he was an American, that he's an American, and he was judged fairly by Americans. That's all I can say.
Wow.
If you want to be more localized,
Have you been drinking Budweiser?
that's the truth.
There's a reason why I named that particular beer, by the way.
Well, why you think why you say I was drinking vodka or Crown?
Exactly. Think about it. You get it?
Yeah.
That was one of those intellectual jokes.
Yeah, this is far more complicated than it's going to be a lot harder than people think. I mean, it's kind of like the whole conversation they had last night, not to segue, but it's kind of like the whole conversation they had last night about
the Citizens Review Board.
Citizens Review Board, yeah. I mean, it's the same thing. And what I find really interesting is how I love how the board has plenty of questions for things they don't want to pass. There's no questions for things that they do. And so it's obvious that they're not going to be supportive of this Citizens Review Board. It's obvious that they're not going to be supportive of it because they absolutely say. That's another point about us not having a voice, because the room was not full when they had that conversation last night. And the room probably won't be full when they vote on it.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm hoping that people will come out and look. And I talked to Mayor Frank Scott on Wednesday on the show and asked him specifically about the Citizens Review Board and voiced my disappointment and objection to not having subpoena power. But I think this is what you just said about that. I think it's important for people to understand is that when it comes down to what really is going on in Little Rock, your ire should be pointed at that board, because you're exactly right. In reading the accounts, this is not going to pass. And here's the other thing. I didn't even need to see the acclamation of quotes. In other words, who said it? I knew who said it. To Joan Adcock, what is she? She's a at-large a board member. Dean Campiris, what is he? He's an at-large board member. Okay? Now, if you are concerned about everything that goes on or the benefit of all the citizens of Little Rock, you at-large board members should have been saying, wait a minute, the majority of the people in Little Rock, whom I represent, they want a Citizens Review Board. I'm not going to even argue the ins and outs of what the board should be. They ought to be saying they want a civilian review board. What can I do to make sure this happens? But they're not. And that should be a lesson to all of us here in Little Rock. Black voter, black minister, black leader, black chair, black desk, black car, whatever you call it. This is, in my opinion, a point that I've been trying to make all along. That you people out there who think that the at-large members are concerned about your benefit, this issue, regardless of the merits of not even the merits, but the implementation of the Citizens Review Board, the fact that they weren't concerned about getting it done, they're more concerned about blocking it, that speaks volumes to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's common. It's not uncommon. It's common thing on the block that you just don't want to keep it. I mean, it's not uncommon. But again, I mean, let's go back to value. Not only value at this point, in this case, I think it's also more about education, right? Because there are not enough people who are educated about how the board operates, so therefore, they don't understand that what happened Tuesday night. It's not an anomaly. This is what happens all the time.
Yeah.
Not just this one particular thing. I mean, and I think it's really interesting. Joan Adcock was the same lady who, when they talked about residency, she was against residency for police officers. But when they talked about the office of entry, she made a point to say, listen, this is only going to be for Little Rock residents, right? Now, that's interesting, right? How can you be against residency on one side but for it on the other side? So, I think that speaks to the hypocrisy of our whole.
I totally agree with you. 855-525-5683. We're asking the question, what's the difference between Mohamed Noor and Daniel Pantaleo? Both are police officers. One is free.
There's no difference.
One is free.
He wasn't charged, right?
No, he wasn't even charged. One is free and one is spending 12 and a half years in jail. And I bring that up because apparently black folks ain't paying attention yet. And Robert, one thing we don't do on this show is that we prep each other. I didn't know what you were going to talk about. Obviously, I do a T so you can get an idea. But your point about value, your point about, this system is important. And that's why I had to talk about the Botham Jean case. Because I'm telling you, this white lady is going to get off. I'm telling you, she will not spend any time in jail whatsoever. I'm telling you. And I want to know, I'm hoping black people are prepping your coonage to try to justify why. I'm hoping Reverend Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, I just heard the other day, Jesse Jackson is trying to get Blavojevic out of jail. Who cares about him? He's the one that ended up getting your son sent to jail. I want to know if y'all gonna stand up against what's gonna happen with this Botham Jean case. Because at that point, if there are some young leaders out there, that is your opportunity to seize the moment. Whomever you are. So, anyway, 855-525-5683 is the number. One other quick thing about technology. So, Robert, have you been seeing this facial app that people have been floating around on Facebook?
Yeah.
Where it shows you how you're going to look when you get old?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Have you done it yet?
No.
You haven't? Are you going to do it?
No.
Okay. Good. By the way, some of you all who are doing it, stop. Y'all look a mess. Look, if you already look a mess now and then you do an app that makes you look old, how ugly you going to be then? I'm just saying, I'm sorry, no shade. Y'all know who y'all are, ugly people. I'm sorry, that was me. But the reason I'm bringing this app up, because it seems to be the rage of the internet. Now, what I've told you, lemmings, do you know what a lemming is, Robert?
I don't. Educate me there.
Okay, a lemming is an animal that follows the leader. So there was actually a computer game a few years ago called Lemmings that we would play in our spare time. It's a useless game because you can never win. Okay? It's just a loop. And what it does, it has little lemmings and you simply click on the screen to lead them to certain places. All right? If you lead them into the ocean, all of them, if it's 50 of them, they follow behind each other one by one in single file. If it's 50 of them, every one of them will walk into the ocean. Or if you click to where they are walking off a cliff, all 50 of them will walk off the cliff. They never question. Okay? That's what a lemming is. So apparently, lemming-nitis attacked a lot of people this weekend or the last couple of days, because I've been seeing this app. And maybe it's because I'm a computer person and I don't trust computers as much as I use them and as much as I love them. I'm very conscious about people stealing my data. I went and got gas this morning. This lady said, you can save 5 cents if you sign up for a red, white, and blue, purple, green card. I said, I'm not interested. She looked at me like I was crazy because I don't want all my data and information into the system. There's enough of it in there already. All right. But the New York Post apparently has said the Face app has security concerns. Russians now own all of your old photos. Did you hear what I just said, Robert?
Yeah.
So what this app does, it goes out on your phone or your computer and it steals all of your photos. And here's the funny thing about it. The app even tells you that it's going to do it. And y'all do it anyway. And you all don't even question where it came from. This is a Russian spy app, apparently. Now, the New York Post is a credible piece of media here. And here's another one, TechCrunch. TechCrunch is what I use when I work for Dell. Here's what it says. AI photo editor Face app goes viral again in iOS. Raises concerns about photo library access. Hello? So if you've downloaded the Face app and you've uploaded it to Facebook and allowed it access to your phone, computer, or tablet, all of your photos have basically been sent to Russia. And not only that, because I'm pretty sure it stole some of your other information as well. So, have you done this yet, Robert? You sure? You need to confess?
No, I don't need to.
I'm just saying, we don't even question sometimes some of the stuff that happens to us. We don't even pay attention. Everybody does it. Oh, that looks cute. Let me do it. Robert, let me ask you a question. If someone said, hey, I'll give you $300 to go live in the mountains for 3 months with no phone, no, $300,000 with no phone, no access to the computer, would you take that money?
Oh, yeah, I love vacation.
I'm just curious. Ms. Ivy, if someone said they'd give you $500,000, come over here, Clayton, get on this mic over here. Pull your mic 1 down and make sure it's in program. And set mic 3 up and make sure it's in program. So, Ms. Ivy, because I'm asking y'all this for a reason. So if someone offers you $500,000, that's $500,000, to go live in a cabin in the mountains for 6 months with no internet, no PlayStation, no electronic devices, would you do it?
Is that for 3 months?
You ought to see her face, Robert. No, for 6 months.
Like I'm there by myself? Like,
You'll be provided food, all of that stuff, but just you for 6 months. You have a cabin by yourself. You'll have access. You'll have a nice little stream. It'll be beautiful. You just need to be without phone or, let's say, internet access. Okay? You'll be able to call. We'll give you a rotary dial phone to call home. Okay? Okay, you know what a rotary dial phone is, right? You have one of the little circle things. Yeah. Could y'all do it?
Yeah, for $500,000, I'll do it.
yeah, 6 months. I think I can do that. I mean, I went got a phone before.
Okay.
A couple months. So I think I could do that. I mean, I still have TV.
Okay, but what if you don't have TV? No TV.
No music? Well,
No music.
Well, okay, let's do this. We'll let you take your music. You will not be able to access it online. No, you can take your music.
I'm fine.
Could you do it?
CDs and records and stuff.
Yes. You'll be able to take a CD, or I know they don't make MP3 players anymore, but you'll be able to take any downloadable music. Okay? But no movies, no TV. Could you do it?
I could do that.
Okay. I was just wondering. Y'all kind of struggle with that. You notice how Robert said I could do it in a minute. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
New
So,
generation, all type of technology.
well, I remember when we used to have to take turns on the phone. If you had a relative, a brother or a sister, man, she's supposed to be calling me, man. Come on, she calling me at 7:30. And your brother be on the phone like he know you're getting ready to get a call. So he'd start another conversation. Or your mama, oh man. My mom, Rob, did your mom ever do that when you expected a call and she knew you wanted the phone and she just stay on longer? Yeah, that has happened to me as well numerous times. So, but anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up because, you know, everybody's so involved in technology right now, they feel like that they can. And I laugh at people. I think a week or so ago, Facebook went down and people panicked. It was Facebook and Twitter, as a matter of fact. You couldn't post.
Facebook
And Instagram too.
And WhatsApp.
And people like panicked. They were like, oh my God. And these were grown people. I mean, I can understand the young people because they kind of live on it. But again, oh, Mr. Hoity Toity. Bed at 58.
same thing about turning it off. When you turn it off, you forget to turn it off. You forget it. Because now you find other things to do with that hour.
Oh, so Robert, is that why when I send you a notification, you don't respond?
Yeah, because I don't go on.
Oh, okay. All right, now that I know that, I'll stop cursing you out because you don't respond to my notification.
Well, if you send me something, just text me, say, hey, I just did something or whatever. Then I'll go on and look at it. But other than that, I don't go.
But see, Robert, here's the deal. See, here's the deal, Robert. When I get stuff from you, I know I don't turn you off, man. You know what I'm saying? Just like this morning, you tagged me on a photo. I got that photo. I mean, I'm a little upset that when I send you stuff, you don't respond to me, and I'm hurt. I mean, we've been together for almost 3 years, and you're not you don't respond to me in a manner which shows me that you care. A teeny, a teeny, a teeny, a teeny, a teeny, a teeny. All right, we're going to take the top of the hour break. When we come back, you remember those two questions I asked, right? Let me remind you of what I asked, because there were two prominent people who asked two very important questions or made very important statements. One said, Trump is a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. The other one said, Democrats don't need more black faces that don't want to be a black voice. Who said those? I'll tell you about it when we come back on the back of the hour. You're listening to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices, on joinnetradio.com. All right, so fade. All right, so let me show you. So I want to talk to Robert. So here's what you need to do. Go ahead and you need to kill Robert's mic.
That the funeral is a celebration of a life.
Turn the volume down.
So the
Just a little
entire
bit.
staff.
So in order for me to talk to Robert, I need you to put the board in program.
Services they provide.
Put the board in audition. Put the board in audition. Yes. Okay. Put the automation pod. Just take it off audition. Okay. Put his mic 3. That's correct. Turn it on. The phone pod. Put it in. Take it off program. Okay. Take my mic 5. Take it off program. Okay. So I can talk to Robert without it going out on the air. So turn up my mic and turn up the phone. The phone, not the automation. Robert, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, I was just showing, don't turn it up too high. You hear the distortion? Okay. All right. I was just showing Jemiah how to talk to people. So in order for him to hear me, he has to be in audition. Okay, remember that. Okay, Clayton, you might need to come over and see how this is set up. All right. So remember, whatever is in programming is always going out on the air. So the automation pod is in programming, right? But it's not in audition. So if you click that audition button right now on the automation pod, what I'm saying will go out on the air because it'll be in audition as well. All right. So when you're trying to, quite often, sometimes you'll call people before the show so you can talk to them. You might, we're going to do the show like this, and you need to, that's how you would set it up. Now, the other thing is there's a commercial running. What's running? How much time is left? 15 seconds. 50 seconds. So you need to get ready to, even though you're not hearing it, you ought to be able to look at the time and know that, hey, I got to click. What do you got to play coming back? The disclaimer, the open, and the news. So all while I'm talking, you still ought to be paying attention. Oh, I got to get this done. Okay? So quite often, quite often what you're going to have to do, all right, you can go ahead and set the board back up, put everybody back into programming. Make sure this is ready first. So look at how much time you got on the spot. Is it playing?
Focus Radio are not
Okay.
the views and opinions of the station, its management.
Make sure he's in programming too. Make sure my mic's not on.
To focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Open. And you need to go and find the news. Have you already loaded the news? Okay, good. See how that works? You got to think. Even though I'm talking to you, you got to think. Your primary job is to make sure that everything is going out on the air. Okay? Say what? Yeah, everybody should be back in program. Turn off the mics. Turn off the mics. News. All right, turn off the mics. Turn off the mics. Okay. Now you can go ahead and push them up and get ready to turn them back on. Just turn up the pods. Push up the pods. Not too high. So you won't get that distortion. All right. So you'll come back with the bed. Make sure you hit the mics. You need to make sure now so he can hear me on the air. You need to make sure all of them are in audition as well. So they are. Always let it play about 5 seconds. Turn the mics on, and then remember, fade it quickly but slowly, if that makes sense. Okay. All right, welcome back to the show. David Coleman, Robert Webb in the house. Robert's on the phone with us. 855-525-5683 is the number. I surely hope a lot of people. I'm checking. I've already checked my calendar. When I read the story about the board meeting, I'm going to try and get there next weekend. To next Tuesday, as a matter of fact, to try and address the board if everything works out the way I need to. Before going into the break, I asked a couple of questions of who said that, and I think we might even, Robert, I think I'm gonna start playing. We're gonna create a little sound, and we might do this once or twice a week, as far as who said that, because I think it'll work out real well. So let me ask you again, Robert. Who said this? Trump is a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. Take a guess. Is it a male or female? I will tell you that you're wrong on that. It's a male. Lindsey Graham. Why did you say no? Lindsey Graham said Trump is a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. Now, he's not saying that now, but remember when, as a matter of fact, I think it was MSNBC last night, ran a great montage of what Lindsey Graham had to say about Donald Trump. And this was one of them. This was one of the many things that he called Donald Trump. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because this clearly shows beyond a shadow of a doubt that the race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot can do anything he wants and white people will support him. Even those who at one point named him those hyperbolic terminologies. And Lindsey Graham, by the way, is one of the people who had the unmitigated gall to say what Trump said to those four black women, well, those four women congressmen was not racist. Why are you shocked it was Lindsey Graham?
Well, because they've been fighting.
Drinking mimosas. Well, I think it speaks to a broader picture, is that white people are going to stick together regardless of what they feel about one another. And that therein lies the problem with black people. We can get mad at one another and not speak to them for 50 years. Okay? We do that often. But I know white people who have went in business with one another, hated their business partner's guts, but because they were making money, hey, that hate was put on the back burner. Now, maybe later on in that relationship, they split up and then they started throwing shade at one another. But while they were making money, oh man, they were like peas in a pod. So I find this interesting that here is Lindsey Graham, senator from South Carolina, who detested Trump prior to him becoming elected. And now all of a sudden, they best buds. They love one another. I think this is a lesson for black folks more than anything else, is pay attention to how they do. Since y'all want to be like them so bad, why don't you pay attention to how they do? You were saying something, Robert? Now, who said this? Democrats don't need more black faces that don't want to be a black voice. In fact, this was just said recently, so if you hadn't been paying attention, you may not know who this is. I will tell you that this quote was by a woman. Let me ask you, do you think that woman was Republican or Democrat?
I don't know.
Take a guess.
I have to say she'd be a Democrat.
She'd be a Democrat. You're right there. Now, let me ask you a question. And I'm trying to narrow it down for you. How long is this person, is this an elected official? Let's put it that way. Okay, she is an elected official. What branch or where do you think, what office is she elected to? Take a guess. We're playing a game here, Robert. You be done lost on the game show. She's in the Senate. No, she's not in the Senate. So where else could she be? She's in Congress. So you quickly narrowed it down because you could have said a state representative, a dog catcher, whatever. But she is a congresswoman. She's black. Maxine Waters. No, it's not Maxine. Let me tell you who it was. Oh, well, before I tell you that, what do you think about the statement? So are you saying that the black faces that have been previously elected, because I don't want to put words in your mouth, are nothing more than black faces?
Yeah, to some degree. They don't champion black. Well, at least I haven't heard they champion the black issues that other people talk about, right? But I haven't heard them have a conversation about black issues. I mean, what's really interesting to me is that I haven't seen more black elected officials in Congress and the Senate talking about the stuff we start talking about. That I find really job.
Well, I totally agree with you. The congressperson or congresswoman who said this is Ayanna Pressley. So you've been following the squad, as they're calling these four women of color, right? Ayanna Pressley, Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib, right? Ayanna Pressley is the black lady who was recently elected. They are all together on this. And the point that she's
You the one from Illinois?
Ayanna Presley, I want to say she's from Georgia. I'll quickly look that up for you. But, you know, obviously, the bottom line is this, and I laugh at Donald Trump, because here's what I know about black women, because they mainly lead black Twitter. I don't really want to mess with black women. I'm scared of black women. You know, and if you get all of them on your case, man, it can be uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Think about your mama, your sister, your aunts, all of them, and you done did something wrong. You know, Rob, because you used to mess up all the time when you were a young man. Actually, she's from Massachusetts, the 7th district. Okay. But the point being is that these sisters, I think Donald Trump is bitten off more than he can chew with these 4 women, because there are a lot of empowered young women who see these 4 women who are closely relatable to them. They're young, they're energetic, they are finally sitting at that table, and they're not going to go away silently. And even this morning, they again had a press conference, the 4 of them, with Gayle King on CBS. Okay? But back to what Ayanna Presley said, is that far too long, and of course, Robert, you know I've talked about this for a long time on this show, about black people who are in power, who don't have a clue as to what's going on. Because if you look at the evidence from 50 years ago to today, what can black elected officials really point their fingers to that really impacted and enhanced the black community? Think about it. Now, I know they can point to policies that were in conjunction with other people, but, you know, as I say often, I don't send my black elected officials to office to champion the rights of other people. You're black first, not a politician, not a Democrat second. You're black first. You ought to be talking about, okay, what do my constituents want? And that even extends to even my congressmen and senators. You might be a Republican, Tom Cotton. That's fine. But at the end of the day, when I look back, does my political ideology how does it affect my constituents who sent me here? That means the people of Arkansas. So although this is a Republican ideology, from a grand scheme, when I look back at my people in Arkansas, how is that going to affect them? And if it affects them negatively, then I have to opt out of that. That's, to me, what a politician should do. Would you not agree? So, from the standpoint of Democrats, and particularly black Democrats, yeah, you might be a Democrat, but at the end of the day, how would this policy, or the lack thereof, affect my constituents, black people who sent me to office? And if it doesn't affect them in a positive light, then I can't vote for it. And that's what I think what Ayanna Presley is talking about, is that over the years now, I mean, you make the point. Today, Al Green, who is a state representative, a U.S. congressman, entered impeachment proceedings in the House. Now, it's probably going to fail. It probably already has. But Al Green is a black representative, okay? But many of the others who are in this situation, when Maxine Waters were attacked, it took a long time for the Black Caucus to come out and condemn Donald Trump. How is that possible? How is it that the Black Caucus, even today, didn't condemn what Donald Trump said about those 4 women over the weekend? Have you heard him say anything?
No.
Now, I know people that are listening to me saying I'm being tough on them, but if we're going to defend our community, then we must defend our women, number one. And anytime anyone comes for our women, then we need to be ready to stand pat and fight for them and with them.
Not just our women.
Oh, I totally agree. But here we are. I think now it's pretty clear that the President of the United States is a racist. Okay? And I laughed yesterday as I watched many of the news shows, how they were trying to, white men were trying to say, oh, well, he wasn't racist. I laughed at that. And they were able to get white congressmen, white senators. Very few black ones responded. Now, I don't know. Okay. All right.
So, how does Trump impact you as a black man? And why did our women file ordinance to impeach him? I mean, I can think of a million people in position because you could have put this other than that piece that would have a positive impact on black folks. See, this is my thing again about the bait and switch. This is bait and switch. I agree. How long you been there?
Yeah.
You issue something to impeach Trump. That's what you got from me. What other stuff have you? What other legislation have you introduced that would positively impact the black community? See, this is what I'm talking about. That's the bait and switch.
So what you're saying is this is a symbol.
So now Democrats tell the black folks, you got to get out there and vote. This is racist. Ain't got a damn thing to do with issues protection. Nobody gives a shit. I mean, nobody gives a shit about the issues protection today. They're telling you the reason you can go vote is because Trump will win. That's the only reason they told you to go vote. Trump will win. Now, you know what? I know a lot of Trump in 2 weeks, but who cares about it? I know you kids are in jail and that Trump is getting shot by the police. Don't even talk about that. Trump will win. I know your neighborhoods look horrible. And you got all kinds, you got tons of issues, you got high numbers of retarded and unemployment. Hey, don't talk about it. Don't vote for Trump. We're not voting because of the issues that we have in our community. We're being told to go vote because Trump are racist. How stupid is that? Again, that's just, I'm being manipulated once again. Just go vote. Don't worry about it. Just go vote now. Hurry up and go vote. He's a racist. He's just a racist dude, so now you gotta go vote. I mean, really? How stupid am I to be?
I think, and I think you make an excellent point about that fact. Turn it down just a little bit. I think you make an excellent point about that fact because it is a smokescreen, and that's why I make the argument that you ought to be voting against the people who are making the policies, okay? Because at the end of the day, let's say, God forbid, that Trump wins another election and he's with us another 4 years. After that, he's gone. He can't come back, not as president, okay? Just like Obama, okay? Obama's gone. That's why I laugh at people. Oh, well, I miss Obama. Dude, he gone. He can't do nothing. And by the way, while he was in office, he didn't do nothing, at least for black folks. I know y'all hate for me when I say that. But he's gone. So at the end of the day, what we need to be concerned about, and this is what religious leaders, and this is why I like these 4 women. Each of them, to some extent, has said, what has been going on? And the reason y'all are upset with us, and even some Democrats are upset with these 4 women. The reason y'all are upset with us because many of you all have been sitting here at the table for decades and got nothing done for your prospective communities. We say all the time that Democrats and Republicans are part of the same bird, right wing, left wing, okay? And what these women are doing, they've come in and overturned the apple cart. In other words, these women are the proverbial images of Jesus when he went into the temple and turned out the money changers. This is what these women are, okay? And I love it. I love it because I'm glad that they not walking lock, stop, and barrel with the Democrats. I'm glad that they giving Nancy Pelosi hell, okay? And I'm glad that they're giving the Republicans and Donald Trump hell. These are the types of politicians that should be in our offices. Not these people that are just going to simply call a guy a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot, and then when he gets in office, he follows him lock, stock, and barrel like Lindsey Graham is doing with Donald Trump. And that's even on the Democratic side. Okay? This is why I love these women. This is why I support them. Because it is important. Because apparently the black men are not going to do a damn thing. They're not going to do nothing. And you say, well, Dave, how can you say that? Well, you know, John Lewis did get on the House floor yesterday and say, I know racism, I lived racism. Oh, yeah? That's great, John. Thanks, man. Man, you know, much love for you, bro. I've seen that slash on the side of your head for what you did for the 60s. But that was the 60s, bro. This is the 90s. They've upgraded and changed their plan of attack. What you doing for us?
You know, I really have a problem with all that, man. I have a problem with that. Serious problem with that. But I'm going to leave it like that.
Well, we need a change of leadership. And I think those 4 women are the key. Now, what we need is some black men. We need some new faces of black men. But here's the irony behind that. It was easier to elect those women than it would be to elect a black man in those positions.
You can't say that, Dave. You got Obama in there. You can't say that, Dave.
You want me to start talking about him? Is that why you throwing that raw meat to me?
I would never do that.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to
I'm
talk
just.
about Obama. He was the greatest black president ever. Did you hear me say ever?
Well, he certainly was the black president ever, the only. And I guess you could make the argument the greatest, because if you're the only, then you don't have a standard bearer by which to go by. You don't have, you know, it's kind of like this though. You know, when I think about when I think about greatness, the only way you can compare it, and I'm thinking from a sports perspective, the only way you can compare greatness is through statistics, right? Would you agree with that? He had X amount. Barry Bonds had 71 home runs. Great. Okay. Walter Payton, one of the greatest rushers. Barry's, we can look and see. Okay. We have statistical evidence based on fact, you know, that these people are the greatest. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has more points than anybody in the NBA. We saw Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We can look at fact to prove that. But when you say that about Barack Obama, where are your facts to back that up, other than the fact that he was black and he was the first black president? Statistically speaking, what makes him great? And especially for black people.
He was black. What else, Dave? What else do you need?
I need, me personally, I need results.
Oh, Dave, just put the
It's kind of like dating that pretty girl, you know, back in the day when I was in the dating scene. You know, when I call them and say, hey, you know, I really like you, I want to take you out. She'd say, okay, we'll go out. Week pass, call her back. She said, oh, you know, I didn't have your number. What's your number? I'll call you. Another week pass, no call. Call again, get a voicemail. Okay. Another week pass, call her again. You know, then you get that sound where the line has been disconnected. It's all happened. It's happened to all of us. Maybe not you, Robert, because you like the Black James Bond. But the point I'm trying to make is that's kind of how Obama did the black community. Is that he gave us his number, told us to call him. You know, we had his number when he needed our vote. Kind of like Jeremiah Wright.
Kind of like God.
Well, no. See, that's wrong. See. Okay. Let me finish my point before you start throwing shade on my comments. Okay. And then all of a sudden, now that Obama is in office, and you know that line has been changed, And by the way, Obama didn't do anything for the black community. In fact, he didn't make any promises to the black community. Okay?
Dave, I hope you have the same level of vitriol that you have for the president you have for the mayor. I want you to have the same level of disgust. Okay?
It's not disgust. It's just,
Disappointment.
it's,
How about disappointment?
well, look, you certainly got to give this mayor time to do what he's trying to do, whatever that is, right? So the jury is still out on this mayor.
The jury's not out.
Yeah, it is, Robert. Come
What are
on.
you basing that on? What are you basing that on?
I'll give you one quick fact. How long has this mayor been in office?
I don't give a damn if you've been in
So you tell me,
you already have a baseline on which you just
well, maybe not, but I judge a person on his results. I don't care what you say. I want to see your results. And so far, in 6 months, based on the mess that this city was in and still is in, I don't give a hoot nanny if it's Thor. You ain't gonna solve this problem in 6 months. Period.
Okay, so I was always taught you can measure a mayor by what he does.
I agree.
What he does.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just briefly scroll through what he's done, right? So he comes out and says, hey, we gotta be operating in deficit. We wanna operate in deficit. We no longer want to be negative, so we're gonna make these cuts. So he comes out of the same breath and says he's gonna make cuts. He also says, I want you to start doing repurposing the park. Now, this is the same dumb crap that has been done at the city. It's the same thing. How you gonna have cuts? How you gonna have cuts in one breath, and then the next breath you talk about spending money? I mean, where do you do that at? That's like saying, hey, you know what? We can't afford to pay these bills on this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get rid of one of the cars, but we're gonna go ahead and we got two Chevrolets now. We're gonna get rid of one Chevy, but we're gonna get electric. What the hell? That makes no sense. And that's exactly what the mayor is talking about doing. You're talking about getting rid of, you're talking about you need to save money, but then in the same breath, you're closing these cars, you're closing these golf courses to save money, but now you're going to repurpose the golf. You're going to repurpose the golf course into a park. How do you pay for it? Now, you already have money issues. You already have budget issues. What they're getting ready to do to y'all, and y'all need to see it, because everybody says, he out mad. What they're going to get ready to do, they're going to tell that thing, I know y'all want the green land repurposed. Well, guess what, y'all? You can't afford to do that right now. So if you want it done, we're going to have to pass another sales tax. And everybody's going to be like, I'm for it. Because, yeah, you got some good ideas. Some good ideas to get you the F word. You get you bent over the table, no Vaseline. That's what's about to happen to you. But don't nobody want to hear that. You're about to get bent over the table with no Vaseline. The city needs money. The city needs money. And you're about to get bent over the table. And ain't nobody going to say a word. Because why? You get a black man saying, you know what? We need these things. We need these things to happen. And people are going to vote for a hook, line, and sinker because y'all already saw it. And you are asking folks, what do you think we should repurpose this? How can we repurpose the golf? How can we repurpose the golf course? Yeah. How you going to pay for it? That's the question I want somebody to tell me. How you going to pay for repurposing the golf course? How you going to pay for it? If you again, follow the train of thought. You close the park, you close the golf course to save money. But in the very same breath, you're going to repurpose the golf course. Now, people, you can't say that. If he tells you that he's going to do it in 5 years, he said he's going to do it in 6 years, he's asking me to repurpose the golf course now. Not in 3 years. Now. So how are you going to pay for it? Come on, y'all. You can't keep falling for okey doke.
Okay, so that's one concern that you have in the 6 months that he's been here. What's another one?
That one concern right there answers all my questions. I need no say.
Robert, that's not fair. Come on, man. I'm not trying to defend this mayor. I mean, you know, I'm straightforward and to the point. But I'm going to be honest with you. There is no way, based on where this city is, that you could judge this person. Man, you're smarter than that. You're more intelligent than that. There's no way you can judge any mayor, whether he's black or white, in 6 months of being in the office. There's just no way. I mean, that's just my opinion on that. There's no way you can do that. You can disagree with some of the things that he's putting forward, which clearly you do, and that's okay. But to judge him and just throw the baby out with the bathwater based on one decision, I don't necessarily agree with that.
You ready? You ready?
Yeah. You got another one? You got another one?
Man, so, let me give you an example.
Okay.
Man, so is elected. The whole time, man, so says, I'm not going to do this. If I get elected, I'm going to accept the 15,000, 24,000, whatever the salary was. His first order of business when he gets elected is to get more power. That's the first thing he did.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what he did after that?
He got a raise, didn't he?
He got a raise. But what did he do after that? Not a damn thing.
Right.
That's my point. That's my point.
And by the way, how long was Mayor Stoddler in office?
12, 15 years?
16 years, right?
12, something like that.
Okay. He was in office okay, let's say 12 years. So he went to, was that 2 election cycles? Yeah. It's 6-year terms, right?
4-year term.
4-year terms. So in that case, he went through 3 election cycles. Why the hell? I wasn't here at the time, but why did y'all keep voting him in?
I don't know why they kept voting in.
Okay, and here's the other point. So that 12 years that Little Rockins lived under, by the way, I was in Nashville kicking it back like a fat red old school style. That 12 years that you guys lived under, how is a current mayor who was just elected 6 months ago going to change that malaise in 6 months?
Is that a question to me, Dave?
Well, yeah, because I understand what you're saying, but here's what I'm trying to look at the big picture here. Little Rock is in a mess. I've had, and many others that I've talked to, you included, have had the privilege of going to other cities and seeing how it's done. And I will tell you that every city is a mess. As much as I talk about Nashville, there are major issues in the black community in Nashville as well. Okay? What we hear in the media is about a boom, but what's really going on is that low income people are being priced out of homes. In fact, the duplex that I lived in Nashville was $850 a month. It is now almost $2,000 a month. So there are issues that are going on in those cities as well. All right? But what I'm saying is that what we have to do, ask the question, how do you solve the problem? And right now, trying to blame a mayor who's only been in office for 6 months, I don't know, man. That logic doesn't stand with me.
I'll tell you the same thing I told myself. You inherit the BS because you are the man. You inherit it. So you don't get to hide behind only been in 6 months.
I agree.
You inherit the mess. You inherit it. None of that work for me.
Okay, let me ask you a question, Robert. You build houses, right? Okay, so when you go in and refurbish a house, do you take that house as it is or do you fix it? No, you don't. You fix a lot of them. Come on, man. All right. You got to refurbish. Yeah, you buy it as is, but as you look at that house, if you want to sell it or rent it, then you have to do some work on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Same analogy with this mayor. With any mayor. And I want to be clear, just because I'm saying this, it applies to any mayor that would have come into this mess. Because Little Rock's a mess, dude. And the more I learn about it, I'm appalled. And I certainly, who we ought to be blaming are these damn city directors. This city is a mess. And to lay it at the feet of a 6-month term mayor, I just think it's unfair. I think there are I think it needs to be laid at the feet of these city directors. Let me even go a little further. It needs to be laid at the feet of black leaders in this city. It needs to be laying at the feet of black ministers in this city, not just this mayor.
Everybody's feet, Dave, not just the mayor.
Exactly. But even before 6 months ago when Frank Scott Jr. was elected mayor, this messes on other black leaders in this city who even still today refuse to stand up for the Little Rock School District. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. This is a multi-pronged malaise from the black community. Look, if you're not willing to do anything for your community, this is what I'm talking about with Ayanna Presley. That's why what she said is so profound. We are tired of the same old, same old, same old. I don't want to hurry up and wait anymore. I'm 58 years old. I want to see it now. Before I die, I'd like to know that my grandchildren are going to grow up in a world where they will truly be judged by the content of their character and not the colors of their skin.
But then, let me ask you a question. What is your litmus test for measuring the success of your new mayor?
Just like I do any politician. This mayor made specific promises, okay? Let's see how you pursue those promises. One, as I talked to him let me give an example. One is I talked to him on Monday and voiced my disagreement and displeasure. And you can go back and look at the video, listen to the tape about this Citizens Review Board and the lack of subpoena power. And he gave me some gobbledygook about why this will work. And you know what I did? I gave him the example of Nashville, Tennessee, and their Citizens Review Board. That's not even 5 years old, I don't think. And the difference in that one, and he told me about other cities that did this, and it works, and da-da-da-da-da. And I gave him the example of Nashville, who has a subpoena power Citizens Review Board. That's what needs to be done, okay? So I can only judge him by what he has said he's going to do. And one of them is the Citizens Review Board. I'm not happy with this. I don't mind talking to the mayor. I don't mind telling him how I feel about certain things. Yeah, I'm a family friend of his mother's. But at the end of the day, my major concern is not about the friendship of that long-time relationship. My concern is about the people of Little Rock and how your policies will affect them positively or negatively. That's kind of how I look at it. There are other things that he promised. Transparency. He's made an attempt to be transparent. Some would argue that he hadn't been transparent enough. If you understand politics and government, you got to know that some things that just can't be said. That's why I even asked him on Monday. I said, I know the Charles Starks hearing is coming up. I know you may not be able to talk about much about it. If you can, what are your thoughts? But there are some things you can't talk about based on litigation, potential litigation coming up, this, that, and the other. You know what I'm saying? So, again, from my perspective, the jury is still out on this mayor. I can't judge him in a 6 months. I can't judge him in a year. He's got a 4-year term. Now, after this year, we ought to be able to see some solid footsteps of what he's going to do for the community, if he's serious, okay? Going and meeting with different places and being on Facebook, all that's great. But what I need to see is active results for my community, because my community is who put you in office at the end of the day. And that's for any politician. One thing about me in the media, I've been doing this for 35 years. I ain't scared. That ought to have been pretty obvious. I mean, how long you been doing this show with me, Robert?
For 2 years now?
3.
3?
3 years. April 4th made 3 years. So I'm not scared. I'm going to give him a chance. And we'll see what happens. This city has a lot of work to do. And the problem in this city is not the mayor. The problem is with board members who are at-large members who have been sitting on this board 20, 12, 15 years and have done very little to support the black community.
So let me ask you a question. Did this man tell you that the board is that problem?
Yes. I asked him that question, and he was very political about it. Let me take that back. He didn't tell me specifically, but he certainly intimated that it's a problem. And I tell you what, I'll when you come in, if you're going to be here tomorrow, we'll go back and play that last little part because I asked him specifically that. That board is a problem, dude. It's a problem. And I think what we ought to be.
Here's my next question.
Okay.
So, you got a man who comes in talking about doing all this stuff, and he understands the board he's dealing with. Now, I need you to think for a minute. I need you to think about what I'm saying to you. You got a man who's talking about he's going to do all these progressive things with a non-progressive board. Right?
Yep.
So, how can he not expect the board to be a problem? Did he not have a board to circumvent him or to usurp their power in some way and be able to get some things done? See, again, wake up and listen to what's happening, everybody. I mean, the man said, hey, I'm going to change the world. But you know you got a board that you need to keep voting. You got to have a board that's going to vote on everything. So, how can you say you're going to change the world? Nobody ever asked that question. How you gonna get around the 6 votes you need to make it happen? Because I can tell you all day, I would change the world. And when I get there, I got somebody to blame. I would have changed the world had it not been for these folks. And guess what you're gonna do then? You're gonna put it right back. Because essentially he's telling you, I am not effective at my job. I made you promise. I put it before them. They said no, we move on. But again, guess what? When it comes to re-election time, you're going to put it right back.
That's an
He's
excellent.
already said that effectively, he can't do his job because he can't get these things past the city board. Come on, man.
But okay, Robert,
Is it me?
those are excellent points. I totally agree with you. But here, I'm getting ready to butt you. Okay, here's the point. This form of government has been in effect in Little Rock for quite some time. I remember, when I was a kid, I got an award from the first black mayor of Little Rock. His name was Charles Bussey. Okay? I learned then at I believe I was 12 years old. Although it was exciting to get an award from the mayor of Little Rock as a Boy Scout, I learned early on that he has no power. I understood the system of government. Little Rockans ought to understand that too. And at some point, someone has to go up against this system. Okay? So if it's Frank Scott, that remains to be seen. But at least if I'm the mayor, here's what I'm doing. I'm throwing everything I can at that city board to prove a point. Okay? I'm getting ready to tell. Now, this is just me. Here's our city of government. Here are the changes that I want to make. You remember I said this earlier. The mayor has to make this a confrontation. Now, whether or not he'll do that, I don't know. But if I'm the mayor, I'm throwing everything I can at this board and letting them shoot it down over the next 6 months to a year. Okay? Because the argument has been, the problem is these at-large councilmen. Even this was talked about prior to him being elected. That's going to be a problem. He knew that going in. We interviewed him and I talked to him about that. All right? So at this point, we got to stop handing these board members. It has to come down to good against villain. And right now, those board members are villains to the community. And if he says, okay, I tried to get this passed, they shot it down. Citizens Review Board, it didn't even have subpoena power. They shot it down. Everything that I've tried to do, they've shot it down. This is not progressive for Little Rock. So here's what I need you to do, Little Rockans. let's get this board set up differently. I need your help. The only way that can be done, and I don't know if he can campaign like this, but the only way that can be done is to either a recall or petitioning to change the board, the government, the way it's set up. That's gonna require some help, not from just the mayor, but other people. But and again, this is just me. He's got to prove a point that this board, and especially the way it's set up, is contradictory to what Little Rock needs to be. Now that's how I look at that, because
I don't need a man who's gonna prove a point. I need a man who's gonna get stuff done.
But again, I agree with that. But sometimes you got to go around by Sally's house to get it done. And right now, look, I've just been waiting. You didn't have to tell me that this board, those at-large members, was going to come down against the Citizens Review Board. I knew that. I knew that even when he proposed it prior to him being mayor. This at-large board has done little or nothing specifically that's going to help black people. Period. And what needs to be confronted is that that point needs to be proven to black people. Now, the fact that black people don't go to the board meeting, you can't prove it that way. So there needs to be some subtle in-your-face point that I think the mayor could drive home by simply trying to do everything that he say. Put it to a vote. Let them vote it down. Okay? And then you go back to the people of Little Rock and say, okay, I promised you that I wanted to get this done. It was voted down specifically by at-large members. We need to change this form of government. He's already made that point. We need to change this form of government. This is how we do it. And I need your help. To me, I think that would make more impact on this city and his legacy more than anything else. Because as long as this board is comprised the way it is, Little Rock ain't going nowhere. We got prima facie evidence of that. All we got to look at the last 20 years. Am I not correct on that?
I'll agree with you, but you're still losing the war.
Until we change it, look, I don't care who's in that mayor's seat right now, Robert. Until this form of government is changed, Little Rock ain't going nowhere. Okay? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. We've got board members, at-large board members, who have been on that board for 20 years. Joan Adcock. And she can't point to one piece of legislation, one proclamation, one ordinance that helped the black community overall. Not one piece. Dean Campiris is another one. So the problem is this board. And until the board and its construction is addressed, I don't care. You can bring Barack Obama in here. Your king of kings, you love you some Barack.
You're still missing the point, though.
What's the point? What am I missing here?
The point is, we have a man who told us he was going to do all these progressive things, right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
He knew the goal was this. That ain't nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The board didn't change it. The planning board was that before he ran. The planning board is now after he ran. So to say that he got a problem because of the board, how can you say such a thing?
But it's just not.
You gotta anticipate having these problems beforehand.
But it's not only just him; it's been every mayor. But does that mean because that board is set up that way? Well, because some of them work hand and foot with the mayor. With the board. But my point being is this: that does that mean that he shouldn't try? Does that mean that he should just throw up his hands?
You're going down the wrong road now.
Okay, all right, put me on the right track, bro. What track are we on here? Okay.
So there are already ordinances in place to do a ton of things. You gotta find another way to get it done. Why haven't you found that other way to get it done? Because listen, I ain't voting your ass to give me those cats. I voted for results. I don't want cats. I I don't want you to prove a point. I want you to give me some results. That's what I'm here for. I ain't here for none of that other stuff. If you want to test it, that's cool. That's just it. I don't want to test. Black folks, everybody want to test something with black folks. Don't test. Give me some results. I don't want no test. I want no test. But okay, Dave wants a test. Let Dave get his test. I want results in the test. That's all I want. I care about nothing else.
Okay.
Nothing.
Excellent points. Excellent points. How long does he get to get those results for you?
You want me to get 4 years. You want me to
No. I'm asking. You clearly don't want to give him 4 years. So how long should he get to get you some of those results? Now, Robert, you know politics. You know how those wheels turn. So give me a honest answer as to how long you think he should get to start showing results. Because if you're telling me,
He's already shown the results. I already told you what you want me to do. I already told you.
so after 6 months, you're ready to say, see you.
I ain't saying Jesus, but I am saying I'm pretty much sure what I'm going to end up with.
Okay, so let's,
End up with what I started with.
okay, let's say for,
Because it's the thing. It's the thing. There's a traditional pattern, right? You make promises. Once you get there, now you tell us why you can't fulfill those promises. Because you can't fulfill those promises because of the poor. I mean, come on, Dave. This ain't no different than what Obama did in '08, right? Obama promised the world. Then he got there and he says, I don't have a Congress and a Senate that are working for me. Come on, Dave. I mean, Dave, come on, man. Wake up.
Obama had 8 years. Frank Scott has been in office 6 months.
Hey, you know what? Obama was in office 3 months. That might be wrong there. I'll say 9 months. And then we heard him say that so much more could get done if Congress and the Senate would work together. And we could work together. Now, essentially, Frank Scott Jr. said the same exact thing. There's so much more can get done if the city board works together. I mean, man, if you watch the board meeting, the presentation itself was, for lack of a better word, right? Because I think to me, it seemed as though he wanted it to be voted down. There was not a lot of, I would think for something like that, right? You would want to go to each individual directly and have a conversation. And this is why I think this is what it will do, right? But see, y'all just look at what he's doing. Y'all ain't looking at all the other nuances that go along with this, right? There's other nuances that go along with this. There's a meeting before the meeting. He ain't having no meeting before the meeting. Because his thing is, he just want to introduce it, let them vote it down. That way he can come back to y'all and say, I tried, they wouldn't let me. I tried, and they wouldn't let me.
Or
Everybody gonna be mad at the board. Ain't that something?
or that, all right, certainly that's your point, but I think it could be the opposite. I see, my thing is, here's the thing, Robert, I'm looking at it from a different perspective. Okay?
Yeah. Take off your Team Frank
Oh
t-shirt.
God, here we go. I'm looking at it from this perspective. The problem is this board. The problem is that this board is 68.5 years in average age. Their way of their way of thinking, how they viewed Little Rock.
The board has always been there.
I agree.
That the board was going to be there.
I agree.
That he had some kind of plan to do some kind of move on the board and get things done without having to deal with the board. Now, Dave, here we are, you and I, having the same conversation about the same board that's already been there. Ain't that same board, Dave? It's the same board. So, your argument for me, Dave, is baseless. Because you talk about the same board that's already been there. Ain't that the same as the board.
Would you agree?
Same
would you agree, Mr. Webb, that the problem long before Frank Scott got elected has been this board?
I would actually answer that day for my point.
Okay, no. Hang on a minute. I understand your point clearly. So if you know politics well enough to understand that there are certain, you talk about nuances of things that you need to do. And sometimes you have to be in your face. Now, Frank Scott he doesn't seem to be an in your face type person. Okay? But my point is this, whether it's Frank Scott or anybody at this point, is that you have to figure out a way to demonize this board. And maybe demonize is a wrong word because I'm looking at the long game. I'm looking at after Frank Scott is no longer mayor. We need people in this office that can use it as a bully pulpit to get things done. And this form of government doesn't do that. And I can only go back long before Frank Scott was a gleam in his daddy's eye. I can go back to Fred Smith and Federal Express. And had the board then been clairvoyant or at least future thinking enough to understand what Fred Smith wanted to do with the Little Rock Airport, as opposed to saying, no, we're not going to upgrade. And then he takes his baby and goes to Memphis and creates Federal Express. The rest is history. That is the mentality of the board then, and that is the mentality of the board today, regardless of who the mayor is, in my opinion. So if we're going to solve this problem in Little Rock, then you can attack the mayor all you want. But the board members are sitting back like fat rats, old school style, laughing at us because he's taking the heat while they're doing the dirt. I'm just saying. And let me tell you something. One other thing, Mr. Webb, you got one more time to accuse me of carrying water for the mayor. And we're going to meet somewhere on a corner, and we're going to go down like two old black men. You know what I'm saying?
Water for him, Daddy. You carry the damn wheel thing.
Oh, man. Oh, okay. 15th and Main in 10 minutes, Robert. Get there. Okay? 15th, I had enough. I know, man. Hey, good stuff. And good, these conversations need to be had. You know what I'm saying? They have to be talked about. Nobody gets a blank check for the black community anymore. Nobody. You see what I'm saying? I don't care what color you are. We've had enough. That's what Ayanna Presley was talking about. We don't need just regular black faces. We need black faces going to open their heads and say something. Good stuff, man. Man, we're pretty good together. You know that?
Hey, man, you didn't know what the plan. I didn't get all my stuff to you.
Wow. Just when I send you an instant message, just respond back, man. Make me feel like I'm important. Okay? All right, man, we got to get out of here, man. Y'all have a good day. Thanks, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
All right, man. Just remember Black Focus Radio tomorrow. And one other point, Clayton, I wanted to read this quote to you. Knowledge is not enough to change the conditions of black people. Understand that we need to create programs and systems that will empower us economically, spiritually, and mentally. We need courage and action. And that's one of the quotes that I was going to read to you earlier. There's another one about, and we'll get to that tomorrow, about teaching people how to crawl and accepting that before they can walk. Okay? So either way, we got to get out of here. Good stuff. Hey, thanks, Maya. You did a great job today as well. I'm so proud of y'all. My baby's done grown up. All right, we got to go. See y'all tomorrow. Bye. Okay. Play the close. Faith.
You're listening to Black Focus, where we discuss our issues with our solutions.
As soon as that's done, you can go ahead and go to automation. Now, again, that other part that we added into was the recording. Okay. Okay, so you got to remember to also come over here and stop the recording, which is what I've already done. And then you want to immediately save it as today's date. It works the same as that. Just save it. And I'll show y'all how to get to this. I'm gonna close it out and open it back up for you. Yes, you can go ahead and do automation now, and fade my stuff, and turn the monitor down. Just turn it all the way down. You can do the headsets too. Okay, let me save this real fast, and I'll show y'all how to get to this. Okay, let's open. I gotta go buy some Snickers from my machine, and I ate up all my Snickers. Okay, today is the 17th. Okay, backspace, 7. Now, one other thing I want to tell you about this. So say, for instance, you were doing Rizel's show, like we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays, okay? And you need to save this, but my show is coming up once he finishes. You're going to be pressed for time. It takes about, see, it tells you the time on how long it takes. In this case, because this is a 2-hour show. It takes longer than it would Rizel's show. But this is part of the reason you play those stop sets, because you want to go ahead and get stuff saved. You don't want it lined up in it, because if you notice, it's not saved yet. It says untitled. So let's say, for instance, you go to my show, you record my show, you've recorded Rizel's show. Which one is which? You can get confused about that. Now, you can certainly look at the timestamp and see the length of them. One is going to be 2 hours. One of them is going to be 1 hour. That's easy. But you want to go ahead and save it as soon as you can. So while this is saving, you're playing stop sets. Okay? A good example of that is on Mondays when the Power of Love, what is it? What does it call this? Power? No, the show that comes on Monday evenings at 2:30, at 2 o'clock. Love, whatever. But anyway, the classic example of that is they come on right at 2. It's going to take at least, 2 minutes. There's a 30-minute show. Okay. It's going to take some time to get that file saved. So I gotta feel on air until that file is done. Okay. Now the other thing is, even though I'm gonna close, that's mine. Even though I'm gonna close this, I'm actually closing any desk. Okay. I'm not closing this yet. Okay. Because it's still saving. If I wanted to close this, I would click right here on this desk, on this X. Okay. So right now, in order to get to any desk, so if you're here, we decide to hire you guys, one of you all, because we're definitely thinking about it. You come in here and you need to record a show. This computer, this is linked to that monitor that's dead over there. Okay? It's kind of like, you all know what operating from remote is, right? So I've got my computers at home that I can log in on a program and pull stuff down off of my computers at home right now. Okay, that's called remote access. So that's what any desk is. So what you do is you simply just double click on it and open it up. So if you notice, it's remoted from there are a lot of different computers remoted on here. Okay? And that's because our technician, sometimes he'll remote in from home. So that's what these are. Just remember that this one in the bottom left is always